Let's head to Washington. Let's speak to Frank Luntz, who's a pollster and political strategist. Frank, welcome here to the programme. I saw one of your social media posts where you were talking about the impact of all of this, and you pointed to actually ultimately come November getting the vote out, and that's where you thought perhaps we might see a marked difference.
And that's correct. I don't see any American changing their point of view about who they're supporting because of the tragedy of Saturday. But I do see the intensity, the idea that every Trump supporter will be a Trump voter on Election Day. And you can't say the same about Biden voters, that Trump voters are motivated and Biden voters are dispirited. And that turnout difference of maybe 1 or 2% is enough to change the outcome of this election, particularly in the key swing states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And you get a 1 or 2% turnout differential and you change the outcome. You change history as we know it.
I know that this is your whole area of work, but what do you base that percentage figure on, that 1%, 2% bump? How do you arrive at that as your best estimation?
We've been doing focus groups now in every single week for the last 2 years. I probably have moderated more sessions with more voters than any human being on the face of the earth. So when you sit down with 10 or 15,000 people and you're doing so every single day, 30, 40 people a day, every day, you start to get to know what their patterns are, you get to know what their feelings are. And in the end, it's a projection. It's a prognosis. But that's what we have to do. And that's what I'm being asked to do. When someone says, what is the likely outcome? I have found nobody switching their vote, but I have absolutely found a percentage of Trump voters that want the election today, that are agitated and angry and can't wait to express their point of view. And they were not this way before the events of Saturday. So that's why I think the turnout differential will be meaningful and measurable.
I was asking our diplomatic correspondent the question about, is it realistic to talk about dialing down the nature of the US political debate? Maybe you can with Donald Trump and Joe Biden, but you have all the surrogates, all the lawmakers, all the supporters. In terms of voters, do you think it's realistic to think we can shift from what currently is the position to something better?
It's not just realistic, it has to happen. And I hold both sides accountable, which upsets both sides. The language that came out of Donald Trump quite often during the campaign incites this level of passion, this level of demanding change, of being intolerant towards other points of view. And Joe Biden has been using the same kind of language increasingly in his speeches and in his public appearances. They both have to do this. And in fact, I'm prepared to say that it's the language from Trump, if he really does adopt this priority of unity, of bringing people together, of lowering the decibel level, that's what he says on Thursday night. I know the convention will be disappointed. His most ardent supporters will be disappointed. But that would guarantee him the election, because that's the issue that the remaining undecided voters are focused on. Is Donald Trump's persona as appropriate for another term, because they support his policies, but they're concerned about him as a person. And in Joe Biden's case, he has to demonstrate at his convention that he's got the energy and the action and the passion to continue to make changes and continue to make government more efficient, more effective, and more accountable. I'm not sure either candidate can do it, but if either candidate does, that's their election.
Frank, let me ask you two final questions. Firstly, in terms of Joe Biden, of course, the focus in the last few days utterly, totally on the former president, Donald Trump. Has all of the talk about potentially replacing him, has that gone away? Are things too turbulent for Democrats now to pursue any sort of entertainment of that idea?
The idea has taken second stage. In fact, in the last 48 hours, and I'm talking to Democratic congressmen and senators, Democratic Party leaders, and most critically, Democratic donors, nobody is saying anything since Saturday. It's as though that conversation has not happened. It will start again. Make no mistake, it will start again a week from now. But I don't think it'll have the same intensity. When you have this level of chaos and confusion, one is looking for stability and security. And that is something that Joe Biden does offer the Democrats.
Final thought then, because it's happened in the last hour or so. I know that you've just got off a flight, so you may or may not have seen it, but the classified documents case has been thrown out in Florida. Those are the pictures on the screen, some of the documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago. How much, Frank Luntz, is that a bump for Donald Trump?
It's not a bump, it's a justification. When he says it's a witch hunt, when he says that he's being a target and he can show this, that's the proof behind this, it makes the case for other statements that he's made. So don't expect this to add a single vote. Do expect this to be part of the messaging, part of the campaign, and a reason why undecided voters are taking a second look at Donald Trump today. And one last point, it is about turnout. It is about who actually casts a vote. And Donald Trump has never been as strong as he is right now, Monday of convention week.
Frank Luntz, good to talk to you, and exactly the point that you were making there about the narrative. Let me tell you that Donald Trump has just said, it is being reported on the AFP news agency, that all the court cases against him should be dismissed. So that the first reaction from Donald Trump after this classified documents case was thrown out in Florida. Frank, great to talk to you as always here on BBC News. Thanks so much for your time.